Hello eco-loving viewers, and welcome to Planet Earth, our loving home. A frightening global trend is the quickly rising sea levels caused by climate change, an issue that has garnered serious attention from scientists and governments across the world in recent decades. Since 1993, globally, oceans have been rising 3 millimeters per year, whereas the average in the 20th century was only 1.8 millimeters annually. In March 2010, the Lung Ing Thai Cultural Foundation's MediaTek lecture series featured a talk in Taipei, Formosa or Taiwan on this issue by respected Australian oceanographer Dr. John Church of the Marine and Atmospheric Research Division of the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, which is Australia's national science agency. He is also the program leader of the Sea Level Rise Unit of the Antarctic Climate and Ecosystems Cooperative Research Centre. Dr. Church is the winner of the 2007 Eureka Prize for Scientific Research, given by the University of New South Wales, Australia, and the co-convening lead author for the chapter on sea level rise for the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Third Assessment Report. We now feature excerpts from his insightful presentation entitled Sea Level Rise, Understanding, Expectation and Migration.
So what do we know about sea level rise? If you look at the historical data, which we have been responsible for producing, then the rate of sea level rise has increased from the 19th to the 20th century. It's increased during the 20th century and it's continuing to rise. This contrasts with the period over which our coastal society developed, when there was relatively stable sea levels and we could develop right up to the coast. This is no longer the situation. The historical record of the Earth is very important for us to consider. In the last interglacial, that's about 130,000 years ago, sea level was 4 to 6 metres higher than it is today. And coming into that period, sea level rose rapidly at rates of about 1.5 metres per century. Then through the last age cycle, sea level fell by over 120 metres, and from the last ice age up till about 10,000 years ago, sea level rose rapidly, a metre per century for many millennia, with peak rates perhaps 2, 3 or even more metres per century. These are very rapid rates of sea level rise.
The current rise of the seas is caused by climate change. Human activities, particularly livestock raising, are releasing enormous quantities of dangerous greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and rapidly heating our planet.
The reasons for sea level rise are firstly warming of the oceans. The oceans are absolutely central to climate change. If you want to understand climate change, you have to understand the oceans. They've absorbed a huge amount of heat. As they warm, they expand and sea level rises. Thermal expansion is a direct result of greenhouse gases. So it's the warming of the planet, warming of the atmosphere. Most of the heat absorbed in this process is actually in the oceans. Over 90% of the heat that's been added to the Earth system in the oceans. So warming of the oceans is absolutely central. Secondly, melting of glaciers. I'm talking about glaciers in places like Alaska, Patagonia, Europe. The biggest issue in the longer term is the future of the ice sheets. Surface melting on the Greenland ice sheet again causes sea level to rise. One of the major issues is if we pass a certain threshold, estimated at about 3 degrees Celsius, then melting exceeds snowfall, leading to an ongoing and essentially irretrievable decay of the Greenland ice sheet and a sea level rise of metres over millennia.
In recent years, the ice sheets in the Antarctic have been melting at an unprecedented rate. In February 2010, a 2,500 square kilometre glacier, weighing 1 billion tons, separated from the Antarctic continent and began to drift at sea. According to a new study by geosciences expert Dr. Richard Katz of Oxford University, UK and others, the Pine Island Glacier of the West Antarctic ice sheet has passed its collapse tipping point. A collapse would raise global sea levels by 24 centimetres, which would cause enormous disasters in many coastal areas around the world.
In Antarctica, it's not surface melting as it is in the Greenland ice sheet, but more a warming ocean has penetrated underneath the outlet glaciers in Antarctica, melting them at the base and allowing ice shelves collapsing and allowing the outlet glaciers to flow more rapidly. This is a poorly understood process at the moment, but potentially a critically important process for the longer term. One of the important things to realize about the ice sheets is that the largest uncertainties are essentially one-sided. Our lack of understanding means that sea level rise could be substantially larger than we currently estimate, but not substantially smaller.
When we return, we will have more from Dr. Church on rising sea levels and the consequences to humanity. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television.
Environmental refugees is already an issue in the world. It will be an issue into the 21st century and beyond. We need to think about extreme events because sea level rise will be felt most acutely through extreme events, and the least developed nations and the poor are at most at risk.